Yes. The recording is proceeding. Good. So today's session is on 4 skills lesson planning. Are you ready to start? Yes?
Yes.
Good. So first of all, what do you think? Who is a good teacher? What characteristics do good teachers have? Any ideas? Good teacher is work at the levels of learners. Okay, good. What else? For
Be
example,
helpful and
helpful.
listen to the students' feedback
Hmm.
and be flexible and adjustable.
Bravo. Very good point. Very good point. Maida, do you have any ideas?
Sorry, can you say it again?
Yes, just complete this sentence. A good teacher is, your friend said, flexible, um, consider learners' level of English, and knowledgeable. So, what do you think? You can even type if it's hard to use your microphone. Motivating. You can say motivating, inspiring, passionate, knowledgeable, as you said, organized, well prepared, supportive, flexible, and reflective. Do you believe being organized and well prepared is essential for teaching?
Yes.
Yes, why? Why do you think so?
We need to plan the lesson well, and because there is usually time limit,
Hmm.
and we should organize and prepare well to be able to deliver the lesson in a quality and professional way.
Bravo, bravo. That's it. You're right. Okay, so talking about planning and planning for a session. So, what is a lesson plan? And how much time do you need to spend on your lesson plan? And what do you include in your lesson plan are the questions. First of all, what is a lesson plan? If you want to give definition, if you want to explain, okay, this is lesson plan. What do you say? What is a lesson plan?
A lesson plan is a plan showing what you intend to teach, how you intend to teach, and the end results of the lesson in the first place.
Bravo. Very good. Very good. Excellent. What about the others? What do you say? Other people? Sorry? No, no other ideas?
To write down what to teach, how to teach,
Uh-huh.
and
Good.
what kind of resources to use and
Mhm.
what methods to use in for a session, and
That's it. It's like a roadmap. It's like a roadmap. How to start from point A and gets to point Z. What do you need, how to do, how to go, everything about it. When you want to write a lesson plan, how much time do you usually spend? Oh, I'm sorry, Maida, we have a poor connection, but I'm recording it, okay? No worries, recording is in progress, so you can watch the video later on YouTube. I know, Hossein Maida, I know. I'm sorry for that. But later you can watch the video or download it. So guys, how much time do you need to spend on your lesson plan?
can be hours or it depends.
Mhm.
Can be short time or long time.
Yes, that's right. It depends. It depends to the level and how many times you have taught that level. You're right. That's so true. That's true. Okay, what you intend to teach? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What unexpected events might interrupt the routine classroom procedure? Anything happen during the class that you cannot follow your lesson plan?
Technical issues,
Uh-huh.
no internet or the projector doesn't work or no
Yeah.
power,
Bravo.
or students are sick or earthquake, anything.
Yes, that's right. Okay, that's right. Yes, anything may happen. Just today, two of your friends can't participate in the class because they have poor connection. Exactly. So here I want to say, you always have plan B. If my PowerPoint stuck, I cannot open my PowerPoint, anything happened to my PowerPoint, so what is my plan B? Definitely when there's no power, you cannot do anything. But for some issues, you need to have a solution. You need to have a solution. So think ahead. If this happened, if I go to the class and my students don't feel well, they don't participate in all activities. So what is your plan B? You design or you plan for a game, but you get to the class and your students don't like that game. What is your plan B? So we always have plan B. That's the aim of that question. Okay. So when you want to write a lesson plan, you need to ask yourself these questions. Number one, who are the students? By who means how old are they? How old are your students? Why they want to learn this? Why have they registered for this class? So it goes to the aim. What will it achieve? What will it achieve? Means what will they learn at the end of the session? What is the result of today's session? How long will it take? So how long is the class and how long for each activity? And how long lasts each activity? What might go wrong? Unexpected issues, What might go wrong? What will be needed? What do I need to take to the class? How does it work? So the process. The process. What is the process? What comes first, second, third, from A to Z? How does it work? And also you need to say, what about the interactions? What about the interactions? Are they in pairs? Are they in groups? So how does it work? And how will it fit? What comes before and after? So like activities in the class are like chains. They need to complete each other. They're not separate. So that's why we say teachers should be organized. So the plan should be organized. If you want to study more about it, you can read How to Teach English by Jeremy Harmer. It's downloadable and it's free. A very good book, very good and handy book for all teachers. All Jeremy Harmer's book for teaching are very, very useful books for teaching. So, based on what we have discussed so far, tell me, what are the advantages of having a lesson plan? Thank you, Maida. Good point. So, what are the advantages of having a lesson plan?
Well, you're clear on what you want to do and how you want to get there, so you don't waste time doing things that might take you away from what you need to focus on. So you're able to focus.
Bravo, bravo, very good.
And have the resources ready so you can save time in class.
Exactly. Excellent. Very good point. So it makes the work regular and organized. It induces confidence. So you have a much better confidence when you go to the class. It saves time, definitely. And it promotes learning. Even if I've been teaching English for 20 years, but still I have a plan. When I want to go to the class, I have a plan. It doesn't mean, oh, this is for new teachers. No. If you want to be organized and you save time, you have a better confidence, and you promote learning, you need to plan before going to the class. And you can achieve the objective of the class. Otherwise, no good results. So if you want to improve the results, we need to plan before going to class. Now, for lesson planning, there are some important issues. First of all, we should know what is the aim of the lesson. What do we call the aims in TESOL format? We said terminal objectives and enabling objectives. So can you tell me what's the difference between terminal objectives and enabling objectives? What's the difference? I believe last session we discussed it.
I think terminal objectives is what you want to achieve at the end of the lesson. The students will be able to do this or that. And enabling objectives are the things that would help you to get there, as in the skills that you would need to use to get to the terminal objective.
Exactly. That's it. Terminal objective is the final point. As it said, terminal. Final point. Main aim of the whole session. So from beginning to the end, I try to get to this point, which is terminal objective. But how to get it? Through enabling objective. If I want my students write and talk about their daily activities, so a student will be able to write and talk about their daily activities. So what should I teach them to get here? List of new words, so related words, grammar, simple present, skill of listening. They have to listen. I ask them some comprehension question. They listen to the sample. Then I get the feedback through speaking skill. They read some text or they find some text to read. They see the sample and then I ask them to write. So the 4 skills. Then I have to work on intonation and pronunciation. How will they pronounce and correct? They use correct intonation while they're reading or while they're talking. Or maybe some functions they need to use. So they're all goes to enabling objectives to get to this final or terminal objectives. Very good. So that's the aim. Then what new language they're going to listen to study this session? What skills? What vocabulary? What grammar? In very detail, we need to write down. Then the stages. It goes to, after that, the stages goes to process. Different activity, how it comes. There are 3 main stages, as you know, pre, while, post. So each stage, you write the steps, what comes before and after. And how do you want to teach? What's your method? What's your technique for teaching? What do you do? What is teacher's tasks? What are students' tasks? And definitely how long does it take? Okay? These are the 4 main things we need to think before starting to write. So in other words, we can say, what do I want my students to learn? What teaching and learning activities will they learn? And how will I check them, okay, for their understanding? We call it ACP, aims, content, process. This is all your lesson plan about. Aim, content, process. We have another jargon in lesson plan that we call it assumptions. So you tell me about the aims that we call in TESOL, we call it terminal objectives and enabling objectives. What about assumptions? What does assumption mean in lesson planning? Any ideas?
I think guess or opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Expectation?
Okay. In lesson planning, yeah, please, somebody.
Some what ifs.
Okay, thank you. In lesson planning, when we say assumptions, it means what we teachers think our students already know. What they know, what the students know. That goes for assumptions. For example, they're at the level of pre-intermediate. So I said they're pre-intermediate students. They know to-be verbs. They know simple form of many verbs, at least some action verbs. They know how to introduce themselves. They can use simple present tense in English. So assumptions, what it refers to what the students know and don't know. But I don't think so. They know about passive voice because they are pre-intermediate. It is important to know because when you want to plan, it's based on your students' knowledge. Definitely, we need to know about their level. So assumption goes to the level. If they are elementary students, they have no idea about present perfect because they haven't studied yet. But they know to be verbs. If they are at the level of starter, they know some words, but they don't know how to put them in different correct structures. So assumptions consider what the students know and don't know. Is that clear now? Is it clear? Assumption, what it means?
Yes, that's clear.
Oh, okay, good. What about aims? When you want to choose or to write about terminal objective, it based on the student's needs and coursebook aims. Sometimes you yourself choose the material based on the need of your students. But sometimes you have to teach in school or an institute. So you have to follow the coursebook aim. So writing terminal objectives and enabling objectives is based on, number one, students' needs, number two, the material or coursebook aims. I said, if you as a private student, you have some private students, so you want to choose the material, it all goes to students' needs. Your student needs to improve their general English, so you choose proper material. They want to improve their grammar in Arabic, so you choose proper material. So it's going to be on a student's needs. But if you work in an institute or college or school or any organization, you have to follow the rules of that institute, of that place. So you have to teach that coursebook. So before writing your lesson plan, you need to study the material and see what is the aim of this coursebook. So objective goes to student needs and the coursebook aims. As we discussed in the class and your friends said, when you want to write the aim for terminal objectives, you said by the end of the lesson, the students can, or by the end of the lesson, the students will be better able to, then you explain. This is how you started. So it shows this is terminal. For enabling, linguistic aims is important. Which skill is it? Is it speaking, listening, reading, or writing? Is it working on fluency, connected speech, integrated skills? So you have to explain it in enabling. Also, you consider non-linguistic aims, like how you design or you prepare some activities to improve your students' confidence. Okay? Many students don't have confidence to talk or to write. So what kind of games or activities help them to improve their confidence? And they feel comfortable, no embarrassment, and they don't get embarrassed in the class. And they can comfortably talk or write. What kind of interactions help them to engage more in the class, to engage in different activities, and they express their opinion. And also your aim is get feedback from your students and involve all the students, even quiet students. When we always, if you always ask questions, extrovert students and sharp students answer, but not the silent or shy ones. So we need to think about some activity that involve all the students. and they can talk about their experience. They can share what they have learned. I said all of them because when you're planning for activities, you need to remember all these points to have better and more fun and engaging class. So this is how you start to ask yourself. Number one, what new words were introduced or are going to introduce? Which ones are more important? What new structure is in this lesson? And which ones are needed to practice more? You ask yourself what are new vocabulary because some of them are keywords. And we know we need to pre-teach the keywords. So we have to go through all the new words and then decide which ones the students can guess, which ones are keywords that I need to pre-teach in pre-stage to help them better understand the context. And what skills I'm going to cover this session? The listening, speaking, or listening, reading, writing, or all four, or maybe two of them. And which ones practice most? So maybe they listen to a very short audio, but they have to write in groups. So the focus is mostly on writing. So far, any questions? Now, let's go step by step, break down for a lesson plan. The lesson plan that you write is for one session. It's a session plan. Number one is warm up. Number one is warm up. How to start your class. It may related or may not related to the lesson. Just you want, they come from, for foreigners, they come from another speaking area. For example, if you want to teach in Arabic to people in Canada, so they speak English outside. So when they come to the class, you just want them, they shift to Arabic. Okay, so you have some warm up, some questions, talking about the pictures, idioms, or maybe a very short video and start to talk. And maybe they listen to music, something just they shift to the language of the class. Okay. Number two is leading. So somebody tell me, what do I mean by leading? Leading means?
Getting the students into the main activity before the main activity.
Thank you. Okay, very good. If you want your students to learn better, they need to get engaged with the activity. So you have to motivate them. You have to create interest. This is the leading part. How to get their attention. They become curious. What's going on? What's it about? So getting their attention happens in leading. You lead them to the new garden. How? There are many ways. Maybe you started with the title. Put it on the board or put it on the screen and ask them to share their ideas. Maybe you start with a very short or part of the movie or short video. Ask them to watch and then you start asking them some questions or ask about their ideas. Maybe you flip before the class. You send them a text. You send them a text, or you send them a reading and ask them to read or think about that text before coming to the class. And when they get to the class, they start to talk about the subject. Maybe you ask them to Google something about an issue. Google something and then come to the class and share their ideas. Maybe you show them a picture and ask them to talk about this picture. What's their feeling and what you get of this picture? Or you play part of the audio or part of the radio program. They'll listen and then they start to talk in groups and then share their ideas with the whole class. There are a million ways to get their attention and put them in the context. Put them in the context. So how do I put them in the context, or how can I put them in the context and lead them to the new lesson? You can give the picture of the lesson, but definitely won't explain everything about the lesson, because if you explain everything, there is nothing else for the students to find out. So it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring. Just you give them a picture of the lesson to raise their interest and motivate them. But here, to understand better of the new lesson, you have to pre-teach keywords, okay? Some essential language and structures needed for the lesson. We call it keywords or key structures. You may review with them. I mean, you guess they have already learned about it, so you review, or if you think they're new, you need to pre-teach. In this way, you help them to understand the lesson better. But I emphasize keywords and key structures, not everything, because we need to leave some part to the students to guess. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for them. They need a challenge. Working on their critical thinking. Let them think. Let them find. Let them try. So we pre-teach the keywords. Then we start to introduce the lesson in a logical steps. Activity comes one after the other and help the students to understand it better and practice better. So here, maybe you change their seats, maybe you put them in groups, in breakouts in your online classes, put them in groups. We need to give them instructions. We need to check with our students the instructions if they have already understood what are they going to do or what's it about. So you keep checking with your students. You keep checking with your student. We discussed it before. So we said it's called CCQ. CCQ stands for what? That goes for checking. CCQ.
Context checking questions.
Bravo. Concept checking questions. So you keep asking questions step by step to be sure you and your students are on the right track. Then after you present, you put them in groups because they need time to think. They need time to practice. In your online classes, you put them in breakouts. In your on-site classes, you can ask them to put their chairs or their seats in a way that they can work together. Okay? In groups or in pairs, give them some activities, simple to difficult. Simple to difficult. And give them time to practice with their classmates. What's the role of the teacher? Monitor them. You go around, listen to them, give them prompts, help them, correct them. If they have any questions, you just answer and help them to solve the problems. What comes after? It's the time to get the feedback. You check the answers, getting feedback, continue the discussion, and it's a time for reflection. But during the practice time, time is very important. It's not, okay, everybody goes and practice, no limitation for time. No, it's wrong. So give them fixed time, okay? So you have 5 minutes, you have 6 minutes. And then monitor your students to do it, and the pace of their activity is very important. So we have to monitor our students that they are doing the activity in proper time. So this is the whole steps or what's happening in the process in your lesson plan and for your teaching. Pre-activity, while activity, and post-activity. In post, you wrap up or recap the lesson, review all the main objectives, be sure they learn. If still they have problems, so you have plan B. You have plan B. My students haven't learned it, so I have plan B. Maybe you prepare some worksheets, maybe you have extra material, maybe you have a game or something. So you have your plan B to practice more with your students. Even in post-activity, you can get a quiz, assess your student, evaluate your student. That may happen. At the end of this part, you give them or you assign homework assignments, since they need to practice at home. So you give them assignment and you explain what's your homework for next session. Or maybe you explain it and then you say, I email it to you. It depends on you and your class, of course. Okay. So that was the whole picture. But while you want to write the lesson plan, you keep asking yourself this question. What is the setup for the activity? What is the planned time for this activity? What is the material for this activity? If I need copies, how many copies? If I have to email something, when I email it to them, to how many people I should email it? What is the overall procedure for this activity? Can you break it down into simple steps? So for each activity you want to write, you ask these questions. You ask these questions from yourself. So for the procedure, what is the interactions? Is it solo, individual work, pair working, group working, whole class? What's the for? As we discussed at the beginning of the session, anticipated problems is very important. So that's why I said you always have plan B. So what's your solution if something happens? What's your solution? And another important feature is when you teach something to your students, the meaning and use both are important. It's not only they understand it, but what is the form is also important. And how to pronounce it. You want to teach them Spanish? So you teach them when they ask you about what to say in greeting. Or you want to teach them Turkish? You want to say, what can you say in greetings? But how you pronounce it? What's your intonation? How to write that? What's the written form of the words? Also important. It's not just understanding the form. So we always work on meaning and form both. When you plan, so some activities goes for meaning, some goes for form. I said anticipated problems. Here are some problems, for example, happen in the class. What's your solution? I give you 1 minute, read about the problems possible, then tell me for possible solution. If you have any ideas for the solution, either tell me or write it in the chat.
So if the students don't remember the past participle or the verbs, perhaps you might already have flashcards that have information, put it up on board for them to remember and use it during the lesson.
Thank you. Very good. Very good.
I think for number one, student not remember the past participate, the teacher can repeat again.
Mhm.
Or for students may not be familiar, can tell the students to write on the board and several times.
Okay. Thank you. You reviewed it then. Mhm. What
We
about the
can
others? Mhm. Yes, please.
we can put a list of all the participles or the vocabulary on the screen.
Yes. Yes. You can show them the list. Yeah. Okay. What about the others? My other points, other problems.
If
I
the
think
students are
Okay. I didn't get you. Can you say that again? Mosh, you were talking?
I was going to say that if students are not concentrating during the class, perhaps they could be put in particular groups to get them interacting with one another. So if one person is in focus and another person can draw them in, or to do an activity that will put it in together and continue with the class, with the lesson.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Thank you. Maida, you want to add anything?
Or, for number two, can a teacher put students in a group and the students speak to each other or write in a paper and help each other to improve themselves
Mm-hmm.
for new vocabulary, learn new vocabulary.
Thank you. What about the students may not be concentrated during the class?
Can call him to read the paragraph. Don't have to embarrass him by asking a difficult question or something. Just to read something or give an easy question.
Mm-hmm. And the students might get confused with the use of already and yet. They don't know when to use already, when to use yet. They get confused.
Give example sentences.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So if they cannot, as you said, if they cannot remember, you can prepare a game, matching game, for example, or put it on the screen or review it, or even email it before the session to your students. And if they may not familiar with some vocabulary, for example, the context of the reading is about famous places in London, Trafalgar Square or other places in London, and they have no idea, or Big Ben, GoldenEye, and these things. So what you said, you can show them pictures. You can even play a short video about different places in London, for example. Or a student may not be concentrated during the class. Variety activities, ask them to read something or ask some questions. You can have games in the class. You can ask them to sing together. It depends on the class. And a student might get confused with the use of already and yet. So practice more. You can prepare worksheets for them. Sometimes you need to explain it again. Mm-hmm. So these are anticipated problems. So you always think ahead. Think ahead. And you have some solutions. Either you use plan B or not, but still you are prepared. So we always have plan B. Good. I always said we start our class with warmers, warm up. And we have feelers and coolers. Do you know what's the difference between warmers, feelers, coolers?
I have no idea.
Okay. Warmers goes to warm up. How to warm your students to learn, to engage in different class activities. So we talk about warm-ups. Feelers like icebreakers. If you have 90 minutes class or 60 minutes class, the students get tired. They get bored. So you have fillers, some icebreakers like very short games or listen to the music and then some activities for that music, or like pair working, group working, watching something, then they have to make an activity for them, do something for that short video. These kind of feelers, icebreakers. Coolers is the time that you recap. Is the time that you recap. Means you finish the session. For example, in children classes, you ask them to sing a song and then they leave the class. In other classes, maybe you have a short games and then they leave the class. Did you review the main objectives? Then they leave the class. Okay? So warmers, feelers, coolers. All the aim of all is encourage your students, motivate your students, and keep their interest of learning. Is it clear now?
Yes, I get it.
Oh, okay, good. Good. What is a good lesson plan? A good lesson plan should be relevant to the goals. Include different types of activities because we have different styles of learning. Tell me what are the main four styles of learning? Different modes of learning, different styles of learning. People learn things in different ways. What are they? One is visual. Auditory, bravo. Kinesthetic. Oops, sorry. Okay. Your friends, can you help the others? Very good, Mosh. Very good. Some likes to read. Some likes to write, take notes. So we call it read and write. They said werk. If you find, Google it, it said werk. Visual, auditory, read and write, and kinesthetic. They need to see to learn. They are visual learners. Auditory learners, you have to explain for them. They need to hear. They need to hear it a lot. They can focus while they are listening. I mean, for example, my son is 85% auditory learner. When they explain something, he learns it. And he doesn't need to study at home. And I used to keep asking, why don't you read? Why don't you read? And so I know it because the teacher explained in the class. So that's the thing with auditory learners. Read and write are those students that they need to read their textbooks. They need to take notes. They need to do activity. They need to write. They need worksheets to learn. Kinesthetic ones are the ones that they like to see the real things, really. So they always remember when they touch it, when they see it, or when they mime something, when they act. So they like games. They like role playing. They like just miming something. This is the way they learn. Even there are some students that are interpersonal or intrapersonal, they like to discuss, they like to talk about it. But some of them, they need thinking time. They have to think by themselves. I mean, when you plan for this session, you have to consider all the learners. So when you decide for the activities or exercises for the while stage, consider visual, consider auditory, consider read and write, consider kinesthetic ones. So you have to, for material, you have to prepare posters, you have to prepare PowerPoint, you have to prepare worksheets, you have to find audios, and you have to sign games, miming, role-playing activities. You need time for discussion in the groups. You have to give them thinking time for doing the activity because we consider all the learners. Okay, so include different variety types of activities. And your lesson plan should be very simple. So anything happened to you, I mean, you want to go all of a sudden, you want to go somewhere and you cannot go to the class. If you give your lesson plan to your colleague, he or she can follow it easily. It shouldn't be very complicated. Okay? It shouldn't be it's like a roadmap. It's like a roadmap. How to get point A to Z. So it should be simple, clear, easy to read, and it's divided into two parts, background and procedure. You know about the background, huh? What is background of your lesson plan? When I say back, it means what?
The context?
What are do you remember those features of the background? What was your name? Candidate's name. What else?
The topic?
Yeah, level.
Okay, the level. What else?
Assumptions.
Bravo.
And objectives.
Excellent. Objectives. Very good. These are all, they all goes to background. Process are the stages. Okay, pre, while, post. That's process. In your lesson plan warm-up, you set it by introduction. Introduction, TESOL format, they say introduction. Okay, introduction goes to warm-up. Then in process, the very first thing is leading. Leading, how you lead your students to the new lesson. Leading. When you want to decide, or when you want to decide for warm-up, leading, or all activities, we remember and we should know about the learners. As we discussed in our first webinar, the very first thing is knowing your students. Knowing your students. So what do they enjoy? What about their interests? If all of them are teenage students, they go to school, so they like music, they like fashion, they like sports, they like games, online games. So it's good to talk about these things. Or if they are adults or housewives, they like shopping, they like cooking and these things. So it's good to know your students when you decide for the material, so you find something that they like. Then know about their aims, why they are here. They're here to become more fluent. They are here because they want to improve their academic writing. They are here because they want to learn English for business. They are here. They just want to learn to get general knowledge of that language. So what is their aim? And this lesson, does it meet their aims? That's important. Then you start to think about the aims. What the students will learn at the end of the session. What do I need to do to get to that terminal? What language objectives? What skills? Or what do you need? What do you need to get to that aim? What is the subject? What skills are you working on? And then you start to think about teaching procedures. What activities? What is the order? Oh, sorry. What is the order of the activities? What material do you need? Do you need CDs, handouts, worksheets, cards? What do you need? How many do you need? If you want to email it, to how many people you need to email? Okay. And even think about class management, how to put the seats, how to make the groups in your online classes. How many breakouts do you need? What is your instructions? What is your instructions? What's the time for each part? What is your input? What is the process practicing, and what's the output of each activity? That is sound, enjoyable, and organized lesson plan. If you consider all these things. So, well, I guess we discussed all of them, but yes, we discussed it. The instructions of each activity also should be very clear. How do you give instructions? And then we have ICQ, instruction checking questions. So you write the activity and you have to mention, how do you ask your students? How do you give instruction to that students to do that activity? What is the direction of this task? What are the rules? Is it oral? Is it written? And what's the sequence? What's the pace? What's the time? All should be mentioned in your lesson plan. So it's an activity for 5 minutes. How should they do? In groups, individual? What are the process? What's the process for this activity? How do you check with your students? When you give the instructions, then what questions you're going to ask just to be sure they understand the instructions? How do you monitor your students? How do you help them while they are doing this? So we can say I put them in breakouts, then I observe each breakouts. Every 3 minutes, you can go to each breakout and listen to your student or see what are they doing on the screen, or what are they writing on the board. Then you start the process. So you said pre, while, post, the stages. For pre, how do you put the students in the context? What grammar points, what vocabulary points you need to pre-teach? Or you need to review the key points, the keywords and key structures. And then what's your task? What is teacher's task? What is the student's task? And how long does it take? Is it for 5 minutes? Is it for 10 minutes? And what is the interaction? All you give tasks to all the students in the class, to the whole class. You start with pairs or groups. And of course, you mentioned the material that you use. How do you present? That goes here. So like I here mentioned some examples like brainstorming, eliciting vocabularies, analyzing, noticing the text, ask them to look at the text and the pictures. You're using people, start talking about the people and their experience. You have a dialogue, or watch or follow the model, or watch a short video. Okay, how do you present? Stage 2 is a practice time. It's a time that students start to do some activities based on the meaning and the form. Like they have, for lower level, they have to repeat something. They need to copy something. They have to fill in the blanks. For example, they listen to the listening and they have to fill in the blanks. They have cards or picture game. They need to match something, gap filling, transformation drills, reading something, finding something, asking questions and answer. So it all goes to different kinds of activities based on our different learners, and working on the meaning and the form of the language. Stage three is the production part. So you get the feedback, like role playing, sharing their ideas, personal reactions, discussion, or maybe guessing or clarifications, comparing something, problem solving, or games. This is the time you reflect on your teaching as well, how well they have learned. So any kinds of activities you need to mention, and if you prepare or some worksheets or exercises, you have to attach it to the lesson plan. Is it clear so far? Everything is clear for you guys?
Yes, thanks. Thank you.
Good. Good. Good to hear that. So let's review the format of your lesson plan. So you write your name here, candidate's name. You write your name here and the date of the assignment you're doing it. You mentioned the date. Title. Title goes to the whole session. This session is about what? I mean, the lesson is around the title or topic. So what is the topic? What's the title? Job interview, or working in a bank, or retirement. So what is the whole lesson goes around what topic, what title? Then this lesson plan for how many students? Is it for 4 students, 5 students, 6 students, 7 students? Level of the students. So these activities is for what level? Are they beginners, pre-intermediate, intermediate, advanced, IELTS, international, for example, international exam classes, business class, elementary class? What level? What level of their students? It's based on their assumptions, what they know. So it's important to know what's the level. Age of the students, because the activity should suit to the age. Teenagers or adults. Or maybe children, but not for now. You have to, not all students need to write a lesson plan for children. Okay, only advanced and TESOL, I guess, but not the all. So you write either for teenagers, school students, teenagers, how old they are, 12 to 13, 14 to 15, or 13 to 16, how old they are, or adults, students, professions, and interests. So they are college students, they are university students, they are businessmen and women, they are housewives, they're clerks. What do they like? They like watching TV, they like listening to music, they play sports. What about their interests? Why it is important? Because when you want to choose the activities, it should be based on their interests and their experience, you know? What is their first language and cultural background? So the first language is Arabic, English, Spanish, Persian, Chinese, Korean, Japanese. What's their first language? Again, why it is important? Because while you are practicing, you know, for example, in Spanish and in Persian, they don't have sound at the beginning of any words. So you have to practice. They don't have th, the sound in their language. So I need to practice more because it's very new to them. For Chinese, the syllabus is very important. So I have to practice more. So what's their first language? And time. So this lesson plan for 90 minutes or for 60 minutes or maybe for 120 minutes, for what's the time of the whole lesson plan or whole activity? And the environment, is it in the classroom? Is it online? Is it college class? Is it outside class? Okay, like a workshop outside. So what is the environment? Or you can say online or face-to-face at school, online or on-site in the college. So where is the environment? Material. Here is the list of all material that you use for teaching in this session. And you have to attach all the materials that you use. Link of the video, worksheets, list of the new vocabulary, list of the new grammar, audios, whatever you teach, you have to attach to the lesson plan. You mention it here, then you attach all to your lesson plan before emailing to TESOL. So attach all of them and zip and then email it. Terminal objective, the student will be able to do what at the end of this session? Or students can do what at the end of this session? Student will be able to talk and write and analyze the reading of the environmental problem of their neighborhood. So what happened at the end of this session? This is your final. Enabling objective, so you put bullet points. Skills, what is skills for this lesson plan? So it should be integrated skills. So you mention all. Then the new words, you mentioned that. The new structure, you mentioned it. You work on pronunciation, intonation. What pronunciation? CH or W, for example, in English. And then how do you practice intonation? So intonation of to-be questions. So you mention all the steps you need to take to get to that final or terminal objective. That's enabling objectives. Introduction, warm up. How do you start your class? How to start the class. The process, pre, while, post. Pre, lead in, how you present based on the method or techniques that you use. Present, you write about your activity, your students' activities, interactions, and time. What is teacher's task? What are students' tasks? Interactions, pair, whole class, group, individual, and each one how long. For example, this activity 3 minutes, this activity 2 minutes, this activity 5 minutes. Then you get to why, how you practice the meaning and the form. And post, how do you assess your students, how you get the feedback, how you reflect on your teaching. Here, maybe you give them quiz, you attach the quiz. So in appendix, it goes the worksheet, quizzes, word list, audios, everything. And you mention, so here you can find all these things in appendix. And it's attached to your email. Assignment, further practice. What your students need to do at home based on what they have learned in the class. If they have to do any activities, again, you have to attach it. If they have to do any worksheet, you have to attach to that, to your lesson plan before in it. Now ask me the questions. Do you have any questions?
I wanted to ask a question, especially when I haven't finished, but the conversation lesson plans. Now, there's you have to put in the assumptions and also the students' first language and cultural background, and then the student's profession and interest. So there's a bit of an overlap between the assumptions and the first language and cultural background, I think.
The first language you can say Arabic. Okay, cultural background. Maybe they are all in Canada. So no, they were all born in Canada, but they speak Arabic at home. Okay, so we say cultural background, for example, Dubai. Then assumption goes to the level of the student. So pre-intermediate. When you say pre-intermediate, that goes to assumptions. And interests, like there are school students, and they're all in basketball team.
Okay, but if you have already says level of students as a point to write about, and you have the assumptions as well still. So do you still, because the level, there could be beginner and intermediate.
Yes. By level, you show what's their assumption
as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
No.
Good. Okay, so that's the thank you. Now let me stop sharing. Yeah. The final thing that I want to tell you is it's the time you start thinking about your final research. You know, at the end of the course, you have to submit your final activity, final assignment. And it's a time to think about it. What is the title? And start to gather or find material for your research. It should be related to what you have studied during this modules. During this course. I'm not very sure, but I guess it should be around 10 to 15 pages. Am I right? The research paper that you have at the
I think
end.
so, yes.
Oh, okay, 10 to 15 sections. So 10 to 15 pages. So what you do is you start to think what you want to write about. It could be based on your experience, but you need some references, okay? You can share your experience, but also you need to put some references based on the modules you study or any books related to the teaching. You are going to have a session, you have a webinar on how to write, but start to think about it. It's not very easy, just you write the whole research paper in 1 or 2 nights, of course. So start to think what topic you want to, what's your title, and then think about subheadings. Good?
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Sure, anytime. So thank you very much for your participation.
Excuse
And,
me.
yes, please.
Can I ask a question about the conversation activity
Of course.
assignment again?
Of course.
I didn't see anywhere said that we need to do 2 for elementary class, 2 for intermediate class, or 2 for businessman class. So do we need to balance that, or for the
No.
12 activities,
No.
we can just choose any?
No.
Right?
No.
Okay.
There's no balance. No, there's no balance.
Okay, and so it can all for adult, or don't have to include some for children,
no.
some for.
It can all be for adults. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
No, thank you a lot.
Okay. Thank you all. Hope you all be well and good luck with your assignments. See you soon.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Andrew.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Good job.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.